Hey there, my name's Carly, and today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet this really easy beginner-friendly hooded scarf. If you know how to chain and double crochet, you can make this scarf. So let's get started. So for this project, I'm using a super bulky weight 6 yarn. This is the Karen Slice of Anniversary Cake. I'm holding this alongside a regular worsted weight black yarn. You can use whatever yarn you choose. The instructions are so that you can make this with whatever yarn you choose. Just use a corresponding hook. I'm using a 9mm hook, scissors, and a large tapestry needle for this project, as well as some furry yarn. This is optional. So to get started, like I said, I'm holding these yarns alongside each other, just treating them like they're one. So I'm going to start out with a slip knot here. After you have your slip knot, you're going to make a chain that is going to be the length of your scarf and an odd number plus 3. So I chained 97 plus 3, so 100 for the project. In this clip, I'm just working a swatch to show you because I already started when I started filming. But so you're gonna chain an odd number plus 3, and that last 3 chains is gonna count as your first stitch. So you're gonna double crochet in the 4th chain from your hook. You can work right into that V, or you can work into the back loop like I do. I just find this gives a little bit of a neater look, but don't stress it if that's too much right now. So like I said, that chain 3 counts as your first stitch, and then you have your second stitch, and we're just going to double crochet into each chain across the row. A note on the length here, like I said, you can make this as long or as short as you want. I like my hooded scarves to be a little bit shorter than a typical scarf, so my length measured about 55 inches. Normally I'd make a regular scarf about 60 to 72 inches, so that's up to you, depending on also what yarn and hook you're using. So yeah, just double crochet all the way across that foundation chain, and you've got row 1 down. For row 2, turn your work, and you can chain up 2 and double crochet into that first chain from the hook if that's what's easiest for you. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place a standing double crochet, and this just gives a little bit straighter edge. So to do that, you just pull up a loop a little bit, about an inch or so, rotate your hook towards you and around, and then you'll just complete your double crochet as you normally would. So yarn over, insert your hook into that first stitch, and double crochet. So that's just what I like to do for a straighter edge, but again, don't overthink it. I just wanted to show you that. So for row 2, you'll just double crochet into each stitch across. Just remember that that chain 3 does count as a stitch, so I'll meet you back to show you what that looks like. So here I've almost finished my row. I just have the chain 3 left, so I'm just going to place a double crochet into the top chain of that chain 3, and that's my last stitch of row 2. So to start row 3, we're going to turn our work, and again, you can chain 2 and double crochet in the first stitch, but I'm doing a standing double crochet, up to you. So either way, we'll make a double crochet into the first stitch and into each stitch across this row. So we'll repeat this pattern for each row until we get the width of our scarf. My scarf was about 6 inches wide, and I did 6 rows. So once you have the width of your scarf, you're going to drape your scarf around your neck with the ends even on each side, and you're going to start to visualize where you want your hood to start. So I like to do it around kind of my chin area. This is up to you and how big you want your hood to be, but I say when in doubt, do more rather than less. So once you have an idea of where you want your hood to start, we're going to mark the stitches on each side where we want the hood to start. I'm using bobby pins because I always lose stitch markers, and so we're just roughly marking this, and once we have that, We can take our scarf off, and there's several ways to do this math, but I think the simplest way is to start at each end and count to the closest marked stitch, and just make sure those are even. Basically, they should be around even, but you might need to adjust a little bit. So I ended up with 34 stitches on each side of each marked stitch. So now I'm ready to reattach my yarn. I'm placing a slip knot on my hook, and I'm attaching my yarn into that first marked stitch on the right side with a slip stitch. From here, you can either chain up 2, or you can do the standing double crochet, but we're gonna double crochet the first stitch and the second stitch together. So I'm doing a standing double crochet, so I'm starting it the same way, but I'm yarning over, inserting my hook into the first stitch, pulling up a loop, inserting my hook into the next stitch, and pulling up a loop. Yarn over, pull through 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And that action is the same whether you chain 2 or do the standing double crochet movement. So now we'll just double crochet into each stitch across the row until there's only 2 stitches left. So I'll meet you back at the end of this row. Okay, so at the end of the row, when we have 2 stitches left, we're going to double crochet those stitches together, with the last stitch being that other marked stitch. So here we have row 1 of our hood, and to move on to row 2, we're going to turn our work, and we're just going to continue the same way that we have the rest of the project, and we'll place a double crochet into each stitch across the row. No more decreases or anything like that, just 1 double crochet in each stitch across the row. So I did a total of 9 rows for the hood portion. You'll know you have enough rows when, if you put your hood on and fold it like this, like you were seaming it together there, if it covers your head, you're good to go. You can make it bigger or smaller by adding more or less rows. So once you have all the rows for your hood portion, you're ready to bind off. For this, I cut the purple yarn like I normally would, just leaving, a few inch tail, but I'm leaving more for the black yarn because that's what I'm going to use to sew this up. So say 15 inches or so, and so I cut that a little bit longer because it's just unnecessary to use both of them for seaming. Once I've done that, I'm gonna fold my hood portion so that when my working yarn is facing me, it's on the left side. And I'm gonna use the mattress stitch to seam up the top of this hood. So I thread my black yarn on my tapestry needle, and on that left side, I'm working into the back loop. So just picking up the back loop of that first stitch, I'm gonna insert my needle into that back loop like this, and then I'll work back through the back loop of the next stitch coming the other way like this, and pulling that all the way through. So once I have that, I'm gonna work through the back loop of the first stitch on the other side, just like this, and then come back through the next stitch the same way we did on the other side and pull that through. Now I'm going back to the first side, and for my first stitch, I'm gonna work back through the last stitch I worked on this side, the same way I did before, and then work back through the next stitch, like so. And moving back to the other side, I'm doing the same thing, working into that last stitch that we worked before, and then up through the next stitch. And we'll just continue seaming in this pattern until we've seamed the entire top of the hood, working in the back loops and alternating each side. So here I'm just seaming up this last little bit of the hood just so you can see what that looks like. And here's what our seam looks like, nice and neat. And this is what we're looking like at this point. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add the fur trim. This is optional, or you can use just the same yarn that you were using to do a border. This is up to you. You can kind of get creative with this. But I'm just gonna attach my yarn in the corner here, and I'm just gonna work across the top. You also could crochet around the whole scarf, up to you. So I just put a slip knot on my hook and I'm gonna attach my yarn here. So yeah, I'm just attaching this furry yarn with a slip stitch, and I'm gonna chain up one, and that's gonna count as a stitch since this yarn's so thick. And now I'm just gonna single crochet into each stitch. And I'm using my same 9mm hook, but if you used a thinner yarn, you might want to size up your hook a little bit. Just whatever makes it easier for you. So I'm just placing a single crochet into each stitch around, and I will meet you back when I get to the corner of the hood to show you how I do that part. Alright, so I have single crocheted up to where my hood is starting, and now there's not exactly stitches to work into the same way, so we're just gonna kind of, as evenly as we can, continue to single crochet around the brim of the hood. So yeah, like I said, there's not exact stitches, so just kind of you know, fill it out, eyeball it. It's not a huge deal, this fur yarn, so it's pretty forgiving, honestly, especially for a brim like this. So just single crochet as evenly as you can around the hood, and I'll meet you back. Alright, so here I am. I've crocheted all the way around the brim of my hood, and now that we're back on the scarf portion, we can just continue working into each stitch. So again, just single crocheting into each stitch until we reach the end of this row. And so here I'm just working my last single crochet into that last stitch. Like I said, you can continue around the entire scarf if you want. I'm just going to do this top portion though. And that's basically that. So all that we have left to do at this point is weave in our ends, and there's really just a few. So after we weave in our ends, we are done with this project. So here is the finished scarf. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you love this scarf. If you make it, let me know. And that's all for now. I'll see you next time.